Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for our webinar 10 Common Mistakes to Avoid at Your Next Fundraising Event. Planning and hosting a fundraising event is a busy and stressful time for nonprofits. There are essentials that can easily get lost in the shuffle or missteps you can make that will greatly impact your fundraising results. Well, today, our fundraising experts are going to guide you through the top fundraising event mistakes that we see working with hundreds of MobileCause customers and how you can be sure to get them right. No matter what type of event you have planned, whether it be in person, virtual, a hybrid, or even if your event plans are in flux, we've got you covered. We'll address everything from setup and pre-event essentials that you may be missing to communications and ways to increase attendance. Plus, you'll learn the number one thing your nonprofit can do to increase event giving. Now, before we get started, please know we welcome your participation and are here to answer your questions. So be sure to submit them into the questions box on the GoToWebinar control panel. We have fundraising experts standing by behind the scenes to answer questions both during the webinar and at the end we will hold an open Q&A session with our presenters. Now we hope you'll be motivated and inspired by today's presentation, and as a quick reminder, we will be sending out the recording and slides to all our registrants afterwards. Now, today's webinar is presented by MobileCause, and MobileCause understands the everyday challenges nonprofits face, constantly confronted with limited resources, yet still expected to reach your goals. And that's why MobileCause offers more than our comprehensive online and event fundraising software. We also provide one-on-one strategy from dedicated fundraising specialists and have the industry's best support team ready to provide assistance 24/7. So it's there when you need it most. MobileCause has become the trusted fundraising partner for nonprofits looking to scale their fundraising quickly and efficiently without paying any transaction fees. Together, we can grow your nonprofit like never before. Now, let me introduce you to today's fundraising experts. Laurel Lane is an account manager at MobileCause, where she has advised and guided countless nonprofits to help grow their missions and inspire more giving. Corey Blake is a digital fundraising strategist with MobileCause, where he works one-on-one with nonprofits to maximize their fundraising campaign success. He creates and sets up campaigns, provides fundraising and donor engagement strategies, and creates supportive communication and promotional tools. Now, I'm Scott Couchman. I'm the training manager at MobileCause, and today's agenda is going to be so helpful for all of you gearing up for your fall and beyond fundraising events. We'll discuss the top 10 things nonprofits are getting wrong or missing out on before, during, and after their fundraising events, plus solutions to ensure you don't make those same missteps. Both Laurel and Corey will share their expert insights on ways to simplify your efforts, provide creative ideas for boosting engagement, and the strategies that will help you hit those fundraising goals. All right, now before we begin discussing 10 common mistakes to avoid for your next fundraising event, we do have a quick poll question for everyone. So let me go ahead and launch this poll here. And sometimes takes a second or two to launch. So let me go ahead and read it off here as that's loading up. So the question is, what are your biggest fundraising event concerns? And our choices are having the event go smoothly, getting donors to attend, hitting our fundraising goals, engaging with donors, and bringing in new donors. So let's see how that response is going. Now getting some interesting results here. All right, looks like we're slowing down. We'll give it another couple seconds here. So get your answers in. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close this poll out here, and let's take a look at those results. This is kind of interesting to see. It looks like the Basically, a lot of it. All of it is interesting for you. A lot of it is your biggest concerns. So, no matter what area you're most interested in improving, today's webinar is going to bring you some great ideas, some tools and tips that you can use now or in the future. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into this here. So join me in welcoming Laurel Lane to kick off our look at the first half of our top 10 mistakes you can avoid at your next fundraising event. Let me give you control, Laurel. All right,
All
you should have
righty.
control. Over to you.
All right, great. Thank you, Scott, so much. Well, hey, everyone. Nice to meet you virtually. Something we've all been doing this last year and a half. As Scott said, my name is Laurel. I've been with Mobile Cause for a little over 7.5 years now. I am an account manager, so I do work directly with nonprofit organizations of all sizes and from all sectors. And of course, they all are doing all kinds of events, all types of events. I know we've had to be especially creative over the last year and a half because we know how critical an event is for your organization to ensure maximizing the giving opportunity from your supporters. And given how challenging it has been or can be with the current climate, you may be, planning for an in-person event this fall, or perhaps just doing a hybrid event, or simply conducting your event 100% virtually. But whatever way you choose to go for your event, there are still some common mistakes we want to avoid. So why don't we go ahead and get started and explore some of these challenges. All right, first up, let's check out our first challenge, lack of communication or not enough. I know 20 plus years ago, it was a simpler time when we were trying to communicate to our supporters about an upcoming event. A lot of organizations simply relied on direct mail to, promote that event and save the date and, who the keynote speakers or special guests would be. But now that we're in this age where we do rely so heavily on technology, it can be hard for you, the nonprofit, to know which communication method your supporters are using and are most comfortable using. So it's really more important than ever to have multiple communication channels working for you. Of course, we have social media, email, and text messaging now. And so you can be sure to share the details of your event, but also importantly, share the message of the impact that a supporter's gift has for your organization's mission. Using email and your social media pages to promote a save the date, that upcoming event. If your event requires an RSVP or a ticket purchase, be sure to include the direct link to that ticketing form or registration form, just so it can be conveniently accessed by your supporters. And don't forget to incorporate text messaging into your communication plans. Text messages are a great way to engage your supporters, and with text messaging having a 98% open rate, it's been a proven method to not only educate your supporters about an upcoming event, but also giving them the ability to go ahead and make their donation in advance of the event. And really, again, importantly, reinforcing your organization's mission. Of course, for some of your key supporters, special donors, a personal phone call may be more appropriate. So, don't hesitate to pick up that phone and extend a more personalized invitation. And if appropriate, ask for their support too. And lastly, creating excitement about your upcoming event will boost participation from your supporters as well. So send out teasers about the speakers or the planned entertainment. You might have some unique, local celebrities or big celebrities that might be part of the entertainment lineup for your event. And if you're doing an auction, highlight some of the items that are, available for bidding, or if you're doing fun things like a raffle, be sure to include that information too. The key is to get your event top of mind for your supporters. All right, well, no matter what type of event you're doing, having that commitment to attend from your supporters and their guests is critical. It's also really important for you, the nonprofit, to get an idea of, hey, how many people are going to be there? And it doesn't matter if that event is virtual or in person or combination thereof. You still want to know who's coming and who those folks are. So if your event is free, supporters can still purchase, and I say this with air quotes, their free ticket, along with providing their guest information, so you have a record of who is attending. And if your event is not free, you can have as many different ticket levels and types with various price points, and you can even list out the perks provided with each of those ticket types. So you're allowing your supporter to choose which one is right for them and their guests. Now, for hybrid or in-person events, you even have the power to set limits of the number of available in-person tickets, while still offering unlimited tickets to attend virtually. And when you have a free or paid for ticket being purchased, your ticket purchaser, your supporter, will receive an email receipt along with their ticket or tickets, along with the event details and information. And if you've made the mobile number on a ticketing form a required field, something I always recommend, this information is even sent to them by text message. So not just by email, by text message too. And this makes it easier than ever for your supporters to view and access their purchase tickets. And in case your ticket purchaser isn't sure yet who they want to invite as their guest, that's pretty common. It is incredibly easy for the purchaser to go back later and update or provide their guest information once they do know who they'd like to have come along with them. And of course, all of this information is being collected in real time for you, the organization, so you can start an exciting communication plan leading up to the event using all of this collected data. Okay, contact free. This is a bit of a hot topic right now. How do you put on an in-person event as safely as you can for both you and your volunteers and your staff, but also for your attendees? So for those of you doing an in-person or a hybrid event, having a fast and easy and contact-free way to check in guests is only going to help make your event run safer, faster, and smoother. And at the end of the day, that's what we all want. I've been to several events, though it's been a while, and it's not uncommon to see that big line forming at the check-in table. You know, hey, I've been in that line. We do offer a way for your volunteers or staff to quickly scan any e-ticket to check in your supporter and their guests. Just like what you see when you're boarding a plane, for those of you who use their boarding passes on their smart devices, those that have their event tickets displayed on their mobile phones, or maybe even print them out, they go old school, that's okay too. You can simply use the camera on a smartphone or a tablet to scan the QR code and get that ticket and that ticket holder checked in. This is going to cut down the wait time for those who are, you know, standing in that line, and efficiently get your guests into the venue so they can start enjoying the evening. And as I mentioned earlier, your ticket purchaser is most likely not coming to your event alone. They're probably bringing some friends or family with them, and sometimes guest information changes. You know, people drop out. The ticket purchaser decides they want to invite someone else instead. No matter what the situation, you can easily and quickly update the guest information directly in your event management software. This not only includes a name, but you can capture an email address too, which really opens the door for you, the nonprofit, to potentially cultivate a relationship with this individual. And as we continue to hopefully move back to doing in-person events, I still believe that to maximize the fundraising opportunity, organizations should still consider incorporating some virtual components to their events. We would be remiss if we did not have consideration for those supporters who are not, for whatever reason, able to attend an in-person event. This last year and a half has really introduced us all to new ways of fundraising, and we should capitalize on that. I've had several clients share with me that they want to keep some, if not all, of their in-person events accessible to a virtual audience. We've found that supporters who, they love your organization and they want to continue to support it, but we've seen people have moved or changed states, but or may not be comfortable to attend an event in person, but they still love your organization and they still want to be a part of it. So we don't want to leave those folks out of it. And you may not wish to have the entire event virtual. And if that's the case, that's okay. Think about focusing your live stream or your broadcast for special guests, or maybe just focus on a keynote speaker and maybe the entertainment as well. But especially you will want to broadcast the big ask you do at your event too. Now, I've seen organizations using live streaming to broadcast before the event, actually even get started. I've seen some clients do the setup phase, and they've made it very creative by interviewing volunteers to get some testimony from them about, hey, why supporting your organization is important to them, what they're most excited about for the upcoming event. So that's a really creative way to create that pre-event excitement. So my point is, don't limit your broadcasting to just the event itself. Just get creative and have some fun with it. Something else you may want to consider is incorporating an auction to your event to fully maximize participation and revenue. Because auctions can run virtually and in person by using mobile bidding software, this really allows supporters to bid from anywhere using any type of device. And auctions can only increase the revenue potential for your event and opens up that opportunity of multiple revenue streams. Our volunteers, where would we be without the awesome volunteers? And you know, these folks are your biggest advocates. First, let's make it easy for them to register with your organization for any volunteer interest or opportunities. You can even provide options that they can select from of areas of interest, their volunteer areas of interest, and how they would like to serve your organization at your event. So, you know, if you're like, hey, if they want to work check-in or they want to be a part of the setup or decorations or managing the auction, if you're doing that, let them do that. Let them indicate that interest. And second, recruit some to be your table captains for not only promoting your event to their sphere of influence to help increase ticket sales or registrations, but also for fundraising opportunities. I've had organizations that have set goals for their volunteers, have even provided a little friendly competition incentives for them as well. So, you know, get creative and fun with your volunteers and make it fun for them too, you know, in promoting your event and fundraising for your event. Third, you'll want to make it easy for your event volunteers to assist any of your attendees if they require it to make or complete their donation. So whether they're working the room by roaming around from table to table and, you know, able to offer their assistance, or if you have a little donation station where folks can go, but just, you know, or even just simply encouraging your event attendees or supporters to make their donation. And fourth, I love the idea of tapping into the talent of your network to see what volunteers can assist with the live broadcast of your event, or helping with the social media updates too. You know, it is nice to have them giving a little play-by-play as your event is running, what's happening at the event for those at home. In closing, you may have a lot of talented people available for you to help with your event who can bring their own unique strengths and gifts that will have a subtle but important impact on the success of your event.
All right. Well, thank you, Laurel, for sharing such great insight into these tools and strategies that nonprofits can use before and during their fundraising events. Now, as a quick reminder, if you have any questions, you can submit them into the question box on your control panel as we go along. And we will be sending the recording to attendees within the next 24 hours. And now let's hear from Corey Blake on the second half of our list, including additional strategies for during your event and maximizing your post-event communications. Let me switch the control here.
Thank
All
you,
right, you
Scott.
should have control over.
I think I do. So yes, thank you. And thank you, Laurel, too, for the first half of those mistakes and how to avoid them. I've been with Mobile Cause a little more than Laurel. Just I think I have 6 months on her, but we've both been here a long time and certainly seen a lot of organizations, unfortunately, make these mistakes, and we've seen organizations avoid these mistakes. And so this is sort of assembled based on what we've been seeing over the years. So it's really good to see people sort of adapt as times change. So we've kind of worked through pre-event and into the event, And so, yeah, as we're kind of working out the program and what you're actually going to say and do at the event, you want to make sure that you are remembering the reason you're there, which is to fundraise and to share your mission. So a lot of organizations, sometimes they will want to make their event as entertaining as possible, which is completely understandable. You don't want to bore people, but there's a balance. You don't want to get so pulled into entertaining people that it becomes more of a passive experience. You know, if you watch TV, you're just kind of being entertained, and you kind of sit back in your couch, and it's there's a you become disengaged on a level. And so you want to make sure people are engaged. And so to do that, you really want to keep the mission and the story of your organization in people's minds, how your organization makes a difference, sharing stories of those you've helped. And you can obviously do videos of how the funds you've raised have been put to use. You can kind of diversify how you're saying these things and what tool you're using to say them, whether it's testimonials, videos, a keynote speaker, things like that. But you want to make sure you touch on these so that people remember, and they have this feeling that you are making a difference, and that by them being there is making a difference, and that they chose to spend the night with you, assuming that this is an evening event or a lunch or a breakfast, whatever the time of day, but they've chosen to spend this time with you because they want to help you make a difference. This creates an atmosphere geared toward being proactive and creating proactive change. And this fosters trust and transparency, and it gives your attendees confidence that donating is really going to make a difference in the organization, and they're going to feel good about making a difference. So really connecting those dots for them of like the action of donating and that good feeling of what that just did by donating, and making that as clear as possible for people and as tangible as possible. So to do this, you obviously want to structure things out a little bit. So having an event program outline really helps to lay it all out as to how long each segment will take, what's going to happen in each segment, what the purpose of that segment is, who's doing what. You can even script out portions of segments. I would leave room for spontaneity, but the more you sort of lay it out and have an idea of how long everything is going to take, you make sure that you're not going to run over, keep people there for too long, hold their attention for as long as you want to. And you also want to find where and when to do asks and add those into your outline. These can include moments to show your progress toward your goal. So that actually leads us to the next mistake here, which is only asking once for donations. So this can be tricky, and I've seen this happen. I've been to an event. I always think of this one event that I went to. Was a particularly unfortunately good example of this mistake. And so what they did, it was in person. This was years ago, so it was pre any of the recent virtual stuff that's been going on. It was an in-person event, and they one primary ask, and it went well. It went great. They raised a lot of money, and it was great response in the room, great energy. They celebrated, they moved on, they had some more programming to do, and then they got a little greedy and they decided to try that again because it went so well. And I advised them against it, but they decided to do it anyway, which certainly is their right. But so at the end of the night, they did another ask, and they actually changed their goal because they had just about hit their goal the first time. So they're like, well, let's move the goalposts and ask again. And it was pretty much crickets, which was heartbreaking for them and for everybody. And so, what we see, kind of the psychology there, is that the people in the room, they either hit or they're so close to the goal and they feel like, yeah, we did it, or we're nearly there and we're gonna get there. And then when the thermometer screen that is presented is shown again, and there's a new goal, and the amount raised, the progress toward it is less now, they feel robbed of that victory. And it's confusing too, to be like, well, what are we raising money for now? So it can be really disorienting. So I always recommend, choose your goal. And I think you can acknowledge the amount you've raised. So prior to the event, of course, there's sponsors, money from attendees. If you're having your volunteers fundraise, they've raised money. So acknowledge that. Say, and this can be done early on in the evening. Say, thank you so much. Let's remember why we're here. So far, we've raised, let's say, $10,000. And we thank all of you for that so far. But our work isn't done. Tonight, we want to raise, let's say $20,000. And if we raise that, here's what that's going to do. We're going to be able to expand our program to, or we're going to be able to help 10 more families, or whatever that thing is, as specific and concrete as that can feel, the better. And then you kind of have laid out the expectations for the night of like, this is our objective for tonight. This is our mission, and together we're going to accomplish it. So you want to think about in person versus virtual. In person, I would say, like I said, do a main ask, but you can do smaller asks where you check in, and you can, like I say, you sort of introduce the concept of here's our goal, here's how you donate, here's how you can donate. And build to a primary ask, and then you can always do check-ins later as well. With a virtual event, I would say make several asks throughout the program. And the reason is because with virtual, you never know when somebody arrives and leaves. And so it's much easier for somebody to kind of dip out versus a physical space where who's in the room, and you've got eyes on the doors and things like that, and so you have a little bit more control over their attention. So with virtual events, if you're doing completely virtual, I would say find spots to do multiple asks and frame them differently, so you're not just repeating yourself every time. So they can still be check-ins. Let's see how we're doing. Oh, we've raised this much so far, and you can still donate. If you haven't so far, here's how, that sort of thing. So find ways to frame the ask so it feels like you're keeping them engaged throughout the night rather than just ask. All right, so that's 7, a big one. Number 8 is offering only one way to give. So I've seen this as well. I think fortunately, as time has progressed, it's becoming less of a thing people do, but you want to let people participate however they want to participate. So I would say lead with the way you would rather they donate, which typically will be text to donate. That's the easiest and most automated way to do it. It's the fastest way to do it. If there's a link you want to share, you can give them that in a live event can be a little awkward to sort of pull that up on a browser, but you can do that. But you can also have old-fashioned check, pledge cards, however you've done it traditionally. Don't throw it away immediately. Over time, as you introduce new methods of donating, the culture of your organization and your donors will shift toward that as you put that forward as kind of like the way to give. But you want to give people the time to kind of migrate over. There's going to be early adopters who are like, oh, neat, text to donate, I want to do that. And there's going to be people who are like, oh, I don't know about that. And then you'll see them do it next year. So let the old ways still be there as backup. You can have donation stations, so you can have volunteers who are ready there with tablets and swipers. So if somebody just wants to give you a card, you can handle that. You can take pledge cards, you can take a check, you can add those as offline gifts, and everyone still will be showing on that thermometer screen. So however they give, it'll be there. And of course online, if they do text to donate, have the form that they land on. Obviously you can pay by credit or debit card, but give them the option of also PayPal, Apple Pay, whatever else. You don't want to, I would say in your ask, like I said, that's why I say lead with the version you prefer, because you don't want to overwhelm people with options. So you sort of present, here's how you can donate. text to donate. Here's how you do it. And then, oh, and also if you'd like to pay by check or credit, we have donation stations over there, and and you can kind of secondarily mention those as well. QR codes as well too. You can have, by those donation stations, you can have QR codes displayed right by the volunteer. So if somebody doesn't want to, if there's a line forming, they can just take their phone, scan it, and they'll land right onto the donation form. Number 9 is not recognizing donors. So here's the thermometer. I keep mentioning it. There's a look at the thermometer, and there's the speaker, and this was a Y, as you can see from the logo there behind the gentleman's head there, is a Y who had a kid there give fantastic speech. He was kind of basically their keynote speaker. He talked about how he went to summer camp and how much it changed his life, and how he was going to invite his friends to go next year. And then the gentleman came out. He was the executive director, and he said, well, if we raise and I think their goal may have been 20,000. It was somewhere around there. Tonight, you and 5 of your friends will be going to summer camp tonight. And I love that example because that is super tangible, super specific, and super emotional. Like the kid's standing right there. Let him bring his friends to summer camp. So get your phone out and donate. It really grabs you immediately to make a difference. As people donate, their names show up on the screen automatically. And so having not only that visual recognition, but also having the executive director turn to the thermometer, say, thank you, Penny, $100, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Jody, $25 is amazing. Cynthia, $10. Every difference helps us get these kids to summer camp. These are kids from disadvantaged neighborhoods, and they deserve the experiences that other kids experience as well. And so you sort of can use that moment of recognizing donors, acknowledging the amounts that are given, to also talk about the why and tie in the reminder of like why we are doing this. So having it all kind of intermingle like that, to kind of like diversify, so you're not just reading names that they can easily read, but you're giving context of why people are donating and what they're doing by donating. You can also, with these thermometers, you can set up automated sort of triggers. And so you can set levels. So maybe Penny's $100, maybe you say, okay, every time somebody donates $100 or more, this little graphic pops up and some fireworks come out, and there's a little message that says, thank you, Penny, for donating for donating $100, something like that. So you can set different levels to do different little animations, which is also a cool way to recognize people that are giving it at higher levels, and also gives some incentive for everybody in the room of like, oh, I want that kind of recognition. So don't be afraid to kind of capitalize and kind of lean in on that sort of friendly competition, the sort of peer pressure a little bit. Obviously, you don't want to shame anybody. You don't want to make anybody feel bad for not donating more. But I think it's okay to kind of dangle some carrots and to say, hey, if you do a little bit more than maybe you were planning on, there's some extra attention for you. There's some, maybe you can even do gifts. I mean, there's different ways you can do this to incentivize people, to let them know that donating that level is a big deal, and we realize that and recognize that, and you deserve some acknowledgement. Number 10, last but not least. So your relationship with everybody in the room and your donors does not end when the event ends. And this is probably one of the most common mistakes I see still. And it kind of drives me crazy because it's such a lost opportunity. Everybody goes away, everyone feels great, we hit our goal, congratulations, didn't we do great that night? Everyone drives home, and that's it. They don't hear from you again until it's time to do the event a year later. And that's a shame, because that really, it kind of, there's a disconnect there. People want to know that not only did they donate, but then what? What happened? Did the kids go to summer camp? what did they do when they went to summer camp? Did they have fun? Just to use that example. But whatever the objective of raising the money is, they want to know that how it went. So a follow-up to let them know is a big deal, because when they are asked again, they're more likely to give at a higher rate or become a recurring donor if they really feel like, not only did when I donated, they went the extra mile to make the most of that gift. And so I feel like this is a valuable organization, and so I want to help them do more. In-person events, particularly when they text in, that is generating a pledge. They text in, they say, I would like to make a donation. They get a link back. It says, great, here's your link to complete your gift. And in-person events, sometimes they may not do that. They might be distracted by what's going on. They may click on the link, they may look at it, and they may say, great, I'll do that when I get home. They go home and they forget. And not unusual. And so having text reminders come in to say, hey, you remember you were going to do this thing? Come in is really crucial, because they did want to give, they just forgot, and honest mistake. And so having those reminders go out over the week after your event is really crucial to get that collected amount, that fulfillment rate up as much as possible. And then when they do donate, they will get an email right away. They'll get a text right away. They'll have a tax receipt they can use. And that immediacy is great. They want to know, like, it worked. Great. I did it right. I really did donate. So they get that notification right away. And then the follow-up later that I was mentioning earlier, that the sort of storytelling, the story continues after your event. And so you want to keep doing that. Send them text updates. You can send them emails. You can mail them letters as well. But I would look at how they engaged with you. If they texted in to donate, or they in any way gave digitally, they probably prefer to hear from you in that way. That is probably the method of communication that they prefer. So I would consider saving yourself postage and printing and costs of physical paper to shift storytelling digitally to social media, email, and text. And then those that did give you checks and things like that in person, yeah, keep mailing them. And those print mailings that you send can remind them, hey, if you'd like to get automated messages on your phone, text this to this number, and we will send you updates once a month or once every other month. Or follow us on social media, or subscribe to our newsletter, things like that. So find ways to gently shift them over. But the big takeaway really is the conversation doesn't end once the event ends, and finding ways to keep that going is you'll find ways to retain donors, turn them into recurring donors, and that is reliable, budgetable income for when you're setting up your missions and your programs. So that's a crucial step. I think that is all of my mistakes, so I will hand it over to Scott.
All right. Well, thank you, Corey, and thank you both to Laurel and Corey for sharing your expertise with us today. I know these strategies and tools are going to help a lot of nonprofits run their own successful fundraising event, whether it's during this coming fall season or further off in the future. So we hope you're all looking forward to trying out some of these ideas in your own upcoming events. All right, so before we go ahead and jump into our Q&A, we do have a quick poll question for everyone. So let me get this open here. Are you interested in learning more? So let me launch that here. All right, so there we go. It's coming in. All right, we'll get another couple of seconds. Get your answers in. And looks like we're slowing down. So, all right, we'll go ahead and close that poll. And now, let's jump into our questions. So, it's time for our live Q&A where we are going to answer some of the very important questions that you sent us about your fundraising event plan. So please feel free to submit any others as we go along. All right. So the first question is actually for both Laurel and Corey, and this one comes from Ashley. And the question is, are organizations doing hybrid events? We've looked into it, but the cost for a film crew or a production company to broadcast is significant. And I'd like to have a bit of a discussion about how orgs are doing hybrid and virtual without using a production company. So, Laurel, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. Yeah, that's actually a really great question because I have had clients who did hire a big old production, company to do their live stream. And yeah, it's expensive, no question. But, one of the great things is that you probably already have a smartphone. And there are live streaming tools that are free to you, like Facebook, for example. And what my clients have done is simply use their smartphone and live stream using their Facebook page, and then they were able to embed that live stream into their event page. So it costs nothing. So you can avoid that if you wish. I don't know if Corey has more to add to that.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I think there's ways to, well, I guess to answer the question, yes, I am definitely seeing hybrid events as situations change week to week. I'm seeing organizations that originally it was going to be in person. They're adding virtual components, and what component of it is virtual is up to you. So, I mean, Laurel, I think you talked about this earlier, and I love this idea of having some of the virtual content be like a pre-show. So you could conceivably have your virtual part of the event not be the in-person event, and have the experiences be separate. Obviously, there would be overlap, and you would be getting asked, and there'd be the same sort of content, but you wouldn't just be filming the in-person event. And so I think if you can find ways where there is maybe a virtual pre-show and then there is the in-person main show, that may be a way to logistically find cheaper ways to do it. Like Laura was saying, where you just phone, camera, stream to, you can go to YouTube, you can send it to, you can also do Vimeo, that's probably a cost, Facebook, and then you can embed those into an event page where there's a nice donate button, a progress bar, and things like that. So yeah, you can definitely find ways where it can be hybrid, but it's not the literal same experience.
All right, great. All right, so next one, again for both of you, comes from Karen. Once you meet your goal, how do you continue to ask for more donations and support during and after the event? Laurel.
After you meet your goal, how do you continue to have donations come in? I think that's a really fair question. I think what's really important is not only effectively, and Corey alluded to this, or I shouldn't say alluded, he did speak to this, having an emotional ask. What is the emotional impact of a donation? That makes it more tangible for a donor. So reinforcing that emotional level of support, what that means. And I think incorporating with that, where have donations already gone? So show me the success of a donation, because that's going to inspire me to want to keep giving, maybe increase my giving level as well,
And I think too, you can have stretch goals. Like I had an organization where they hit their goal in like 3 minutes, and they were so surprised, genuinely surprised, that the person on stage just yelled, "We did it!" just honest response, and which is wonderful. But then everybody stopped donating because they're like, great, they did it. We're done. We did our job, even if I didn't get a chance to donate. And after we spoke, and I said, well, that's totally understandable. It's great, but next time have a stretch goal ready. So as I earlier talked about not moving the goalposts, don't suddenly have a new goal. But if you do hit your goal, you can say, amazing, we raised $20,000. If we raise $10,000 more, we'll be able to do do this much more, or this other thing, or expand it in this way. So kind of have a backup that you can introduce, and then exactly as Laura was saying, having that like emotional content so that they understand that not only are you going to pull off that first goal's outcome, but you're going to do this new thing as well.
All right, great. So next question here comes from Tess. And the question is, do you have any extra tips about engaging virtual attendees during a hybrid event? Either one of you.
I think having, making sure that the social media side of things is covered as well. Laurel touched on this, having people, sort of posting live coverage, I think is great. You can share the text to donate keyword through social media as well as the link to donate. And then if people are watching virtually, I would say, there's ways to send people things, so I've seen organizations where, hey, if you're not attending, we will send you a meal box, or some other thing. So if they get something tangible, then that can help them feel really like, oh, this is like a party, like you saw earlier, that slide we had where there was like a meal and they were watching and they had their tablet up, and it looked like a very nice meal, a nice layout. So that kind of idea of like, yeah, you can still have it be a special event. We'll send you some things to make it feel very special and unique. And making sure you send text reminders and things like that to people, like going live in 5 minutes, so it feels very sort of immediate, and that urgency of like, oh, I don't want to miss this, so that it feels very live, it feels very immediate. Even if it's entirely pre-recorded, you want to make it feel like this is a fleeting thing. You don't want to miss it. You've got to be there.
All right, great. Well, with that, we have now come to the conclusion of our Q&A. So before we leave, if you're interested in discovering how MobileCause can help maximize your fundraising efforts, please fill out our post-webinar survey or request a demo to see MobileCause in action. Thank you again for attending today, and best of luck in planning and hosting your next successful fundraising event. Goodbye for now, and we'll see you again at next month's live webinar. Thanks, everyone.